Alrighty. Now I think it's running. It's whiskey and chocolate. Alright. Running for 10 seconds. Let me see. I think it's going. It says I'm live. Hello? Am I visible? Hello, friends. Welcome to Step Back Tonight. Episode 14, I want to say it is right now. Oh my, that cat is making a lot of noise. 15. Hello. Welcome to the show. This is Step Back Tonight. It is a show where I put myself in front of a camera for a few hours on Tuesday nights and talk to people. I see all sorts of people are in the chat. That's pretty sweet. Exciting times. How's everyone's night been? How's everyone's day been? I need to psych myself up. I'm very much always a person who has a very slow start to these things, but once I start picking up momentum, I get better. And I was particularly tired and burnt out today, so let's see how long that takes for me to kind of warm up. You make a video about the 200 million striking in India. Be interesting. I'm kind of concerned that I will mess it up because I don't really know all that much about what's going on. Yeah. Hello. Hey, Michael Collins came in here. It has been a while. Yeah. So, I'm going to hopefully play video games tonight. We'll work ourselves up to that. It snowed in the UK today. It snowed in the CA today, too. Got a bit of a snowy thing. It's we're in a bit of a cold snap right now. Normally in our climate changey type world, it gets to negative 10 tops in the wintertime, and last couple days it's been thermometers been getting below, I think it was negative. That is my mother trying to call me in the middle of a stream. Cannot make that phone call. I'm going to silence my phone until 10 o'clock. There we go. Yeah. And so here we are. Yeah. So Toronto, snow, cold. I think on Saturday it was negative 17. This is Celsius, by the way. I can't do Fahrenheit. I have no idea how Fahrenheit works. But I am working hard at the job and then coming home and hanging out with you folks. Snowed about 7 inches. Well, we at least I don't know, snow's on the ground. But we don't really have inches of it, I guess. Okay, so opinion on the Greece Macedonia situation. Are you talking about a new situation, or is the whole thing about how Macedonia is called the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, and then there's also a Greek province called Macedonia, and they both claim to be the the OM, if you will, the original Macedonia, because they all want to claim Alexander the Great. So if it's that, I think it's a dumb thing to get worried about. That's basically due to nationalism, which is sort of a dumb thing. And yeah, I don't think that yeah, I don't know much about. Can you make a video about why it's so hard to achieve workers' movement in the United States? And I guess Canada as well. Government workers would be on strike in any other country. Yeah, the reason why is because the labor movement in America was basically effectively destroyed about maybe in various stages, but basically about maybe a little under 100 years ago, the labor movement in America was heavily clipped. And ever since basically like the Bill Clinton neoliberal turn in the Democratic Party, there's no real political party that supports organized labor anymore either, because people like Bill Clinton and that sort of third way type Democrats decided to embrace finance instead of organized labor, which, like, you know, I guess is fine if you're thinking about just making money, but when it's about, like, you know, doing the right thing and not messing up, you know, now we're in an economic disaster and the Democrats have lost their entire labor support base, and them just sort of abandoning them for years and years and years, it means that, like, hey, they haven't, like, earned a whole lot of loyalty in the unions, and now they're going to, like, you know, wag their finger and some avatar of Wall Street is going to say, hey, you better vote for me or you're a bad, and they're going to not be able to ring up the numbers because whoever wins this thing is probably not going to do dick all for them, and then the Democrats will lose because that's what Democrats do. Anyways, thoughts on a possible recession due to the current global economic trend. What were your experiences of the 2008 recession? Let's see. We could talk about a couple things in that. So booms and busts are sort of like the thing about how capitalism works. It is a self-reinforcing system that is very prone to what are called positive and negative feedback cycles, which means that when the economy is growing in a capitalist economy, everybody is investing in, like, that one thing that is making money, and it blows up very, very fast, and people get very, very rich. But then the second that is not on a constant upward trajectory, it deflates and it pops, and that's why it's called a bubble. And it deflates very, very fast. And we'll see what is the next thing that collapses. There's some pretty huge corporations in the tech sector that look like they could go belly up pretty quick. Like, one really big example would be like Netflix and like Activision Blizzard both look like they could go bankrupt this year. And if they do that, that could be a huge blow if the NASDAQ takes a huge dive. But also trade wars create instability, make people more conservative in their investments, and that would create a downfall. So, yeah, with Trump not being able to make the economy grow no matter how low he keeps, like, with all the interest rates and stuff like that, I definitely think that it's I definitely think that there is a trajectory of a major bubble popping in the next few years, if not this year. All right, and what was my experience of the 2008 recession? Well, if I remember correctly, my family lost a whole bunch of money. I remembered that I was in music lessons that I had to cancel. But besides that, I was already in college. I was in community college, which was only about $1,100 a semester. So I don't recall it being all that bad for me because I was very insulated by education at the time. But I do remember going through quite a bit of, like, you know, things were financially rough for us for a little bit until it kind of came back. And that's even in Canada. Canada was sort of spared a lot of the worst of the recession because we had some stronger financial regulations that sort of prevented a lot of the things that caused the financial crisis. But even so, we still lost quite a bit. But I was luckily not in the job force yet. It was 2008. I would have been 19. So 19, I was in school. All right. Okay, so 255. Have you given up on Warren 2020? Last week you seem to have adopted the Bernie or bust stance. I mean, I didn't give up on Elizabeth Warren. Everybody else kind of did. Like, indigenous groups in America got really fucking pissed that Elizabeth Warren kept claiming indigenous Cherokee identity when she had no connections to it, like, whatsoever. That royally pissed off a lot of people, and me not to a little bit. But then also, like, when you run for president, you know, when like Elizabeth Warren actually like shows that she's running for president, it makes you like look at their policies, look at their voting record. What have these people been doing with their careers? You know, if they're going to apply for the most powerful job in the entire country, you should probably do a pretty thorough look over on their resume. And Elizabeth Warren, who has sold herself as a very progressive candidate, and I would still call her a distant second in the current race, in my esteem, not in like actual numbers, but she would do a lot for the whole regulation of the banks, but being pro-Israel, being pro-markets, trying to claim that you're an indigenous person when you're not, all those things, you know, muddy the waters quite a bit. And I would recommend that, you know, we're going to get inundated with like 40 fucking people running for president. And so it's going to be hard to keep them all in your head about which one's which, you know, which one's the state prosecutor who sent parents to prison for truancy in their children. Which one is the pro-gun, anti-immigration progressive from upstate New York? Which one is apparently dating Rosario Dawson? Which that's a little weird. That one's Cory Booker, by the way. Like, you know, which one's which? And so I feel like I'm gonna have to make a guide at some point. But okay, she didn't claim like overwhelming indigenous status, but she has mentioned it many, many times. It's in her freaking family cookbook. But like, honestly, like, Elizabeth, like, the standards have been set higher than usual in this election, just because, like, you know, because Sanders is running. Like, if Sanders wasn't an entity, if he just like wasn't on the field, if he didn't run for president in 2016, like, Elizabeth Warren would look freaking amazing, because her problematic stuff is less bad than the typical politician. But like there's someone running for president who like is like legit good and doesn't have, like, the closest thing they've been able to dig up on like on like a scandal about him was like some kind of like poorly written article he wrote like 40 years ago, or trying to say that the guy who protested in the civil rights movement and was arrested for it is somehow bad on race because reasons. Like, I've never heard a super convincing thing about that part, but either way, like, I don't know. It's just like, this is just, it's, there's just no, like, just keep looking at the field. Like, you know, Tulsi Gabbard looked good, and then she ran for president, and then people did even cursory research on her and found out that she was like linked to like ex-gay therapy and like Hindu nationalists, and like even though she does have an anti-imperialist sort of like military policy, like a foreign policy, which is a little bit more important when you're running for president, because honestly, that's the thing that the president usually has the most power over. Even so, she still said that she's pro drone bombings and like what you can do. And so, like, you know, these are all things that we're going to need to talk about. And like, I'll probably end up making, like, I've been debating whether I should make a guide to these candidates And then I was like, I should do one per week for a while. But then I'm like, there's going to be like 40 of them. And doing that many videos, it's going to be like half the year. And I feel like that'll bore everyone to death. Especially because it's going to be like, hey, this person announced. They have a pretty good, like, they have a pretty good speech. And they said some good stuff. They said M4A, which, you know, that's the word that everyone needs to say now. But, like, they have this solid, like, right-wing neoliberal voting record that, like, or like things they did with their career that, like, how are you ever gonna go back on that? Like, I might make a guide, but I might have to, like, amalgamate a few at a time. Maybe I should do like something like at the end of each month, just kind of do a wrap up of everybody who's running or something. Because right now there's like what, 3 that are like officially in. There's like Julian Castro, Kamala Harris, and kind of Elizabeth Warren. She's like doing like an exploratory committee. M4A is just Medicare for all. That's all. It's a good slogan, but also it's just vague enough that they could in the future weasel out of an actual public healthcare service. Like they haven't really gotten to the point where they're saying like, yes, we want to decouple the power. We want to decouple market economics from healthcare because, like what we did with food, when we realized that you can't leave just farmers at the whim of the market, because then farmers just end up going bankrupt. You can't do it with the medical industry because you'll just make a whole bunch of people bankrupt. So like, it's a great slogan, like Medicare for all. I love that everyone's saying it now. I just wish that, you know, they had more of like a backup behind it, because the fact that they're saying Medicare for all, but then nobody's actually outlining anything about what they want to do about healthcare. And healthcare has been, a lot of the candidates that say Medicare for all don't have like a medical platform on their platform page. That's worrisome, because that means that there might be some, like, you know, using the word vaguely but without details. It's you know, it's just words are wind. Yeah, so that's like, I still like Elizabeth Warren. I still think that if we're not going to get President Sanders, that Elizabeth Warren would still be the only candidate that is currently on the field right now that I would feel less gross about. Maybe Kirsten Gillibrand. Like, maybe I've done some research into her, and she seems like she's got some legit stuff. Like, the thing about her is that she started off in New York politics as a New York Democrat, which is like, you know, don't mess with Wall Street. Don't ever tell Wall Street what to do. But then, like, you know, you've got a bunch of other stuff. And she came from upstate New York. And one of the things that she did was she, like, when she was a politician upstate New York, she was against gun control and anti-immigrant and, like, all these kinds of things. But then she moved to, like, she was born in New York City, moved to upstate New York, and then when she comes back to New York City to kind of get into federal politics, she, like, reversed course on all those things. And so it's like, who is this person? Their voting record is really, really, like, inconsistent. The realities of New York politics are, especially the New York Democratic Party, which is got so many problems. But yeah, I don't know. But she seems like she might be a palatable option. I'm at least neutral to her at the moment. I'm just getting really distracted by. A better slogan would be nationalized healthcare service for all or bust. That would be more accurate. But Medicare for all, like, the thing is, Americans understand Medicare. Medicare is a thing that objectively helps lots of people. And everybody should have access to it. Nobody should have to pay to go to the doctor. Everyone should be on Medicare. And I think that's like a really easy, like, answer that you could go with. Like, how did, like, everyone who's just like, how are you going to do healthcare? How can you, like putting in a new healthcare program to replace Obamacare? It's going to be so much work. Like, how do you do it? It's like, well, we already have the one that works. It's Medicare. It's freaking amazing. It's awesome. Why don't we just expand it so that it covers everyone? Like, that's like, so like, you know, that's a whole thing. So, which, like, you know, it's also a keyword. It's a phrase that Bernie Sanders started. And, at the very least, like, the way that the Democrats have changed in the last, like, 3 years has been pretty nice. I'm pretty happy to see how much people have changed tune over the last few years. But I worry about how much of it is trying to co-opt these ideas and in order to get into power and then not do it. That, because, like, there's a lot of people who are like super right wing up until 2016 election. They're like, oh, we're all progressives now. And it's like, okay, maybe some of them are, like, legit. Like, maybe, like, I don't know, maybe Cory Booker's, like, secretly super duper woke. And, like, you know, he secretly reads, like, Murray Bookchin every single night. But, like, you know, just the reality is the dirty game of democratic politics just, like, forced him to take tons and tons of money and support Israel and all that kind of stuff. And that could be true. That could be true. And the, like, opening of the Overton window is allowing people to be their true selves. But, like, pardon me for being skeptical. I think there's a lot to be sort of excited about. There's a lot to be, like, skeptical about. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this stuff. But so even if Bernie doesn't win, he's done a good thing to the Democratic Party, even though they would never ever thank him for that. Oh well. But, you know, it would be really good. Not Donald Trump as president. That would be awesome. So that would be an upgrade either way. I would kill to go back to the days where I am the one left-wing person who is criticizing Obama or whatever replaces Obama. Obama 2. Which I imagine the Democrats really wish they could run right now. Like, a second Obama. Like, we found another one. He was hiding. He had a secret twin brother. We found another. They just, like, put, like, Groucho Marx glasses and, like, a fake mustache and, like, look, it's Barack Obama's brother. Wait, no, not Barack. Doesn't Barack Obama have, like, a brother who's, like, kind of weird? It's, like, Barack Obama's, like, clone, and they can run him again. But, you know, man. You can tell that my brain is, like, fucking cottage cheese right now from the way that I speak. But, you know, 255, you opened the primaries, and, like, the primaries have been just starting to take off, and there's so much to think about. But it's still too early to say anything definitive. That's why I haven't made, like, a official video. Oh, Barack Obama. Yes, it's my friend, Barack Obama. Hello. I am not this Obama you speak of. I am what's his name? I am something incognito. Guy Incognito. Oh, man. All right. What's it called? Maybe they can like, there's like that cloning pod. There's that cloning pod that they use to make all of the Johns for Crooked Media. Like they're up to, like, what, 3 Johns? They could probably make an Obama in that cloning pod. Like, I mean, half of the Johns worked for Obama, so you just make another John, put a mustache on him, and say it's another Obama. Look, we did it. We have the technology. There you go. And then we can go back to the good old days of 2008, where I watched all of the all the people who I thought were, like, you know, on the side of justice and goodness during the Bush years, all just started going quiet, and then nothing happened until Occupy Wall Street. So we'll see. It'd be interesting, because I'd be interested to see what, like, a Democratic president in this moment, where, like, you have this nascent socialist movement in America, what it would be like with the Democratic president who was sort of like more centristy than them. Like, they would maybe it won't be like last time. Maybe it won't be like where, you know. All right. Now that I know I'm getting comments that are saying, what are you even talking about anymore? I think I'm good. I think I should move on to a different subject. That's usually a good sign. All right. Let's see. Thoughts on the Venezuelan coup attempt? I don't really know too much about it at the moment. I haven't been following Venezuela all that close. Weren't unions toasted in the 80s? Yes, that was when the Democrats, like, officially abandoned the that's when, like, the Democratic Party, like, officially abandoned the organized labor and the unions. But the unions in America at that point were already way weaker than in other countries. So David Chipman, Netflix is gonna die. Yes. Yeah, Netflix, if Netflix makes it to the end of 2019, I actually will be surprised. Netflix is... All right, here's the things that are happening this year, and this is why it's going to totally suck to be a consumer in 2019. First of all, Activision Blizzard's going bankrupt. They are in so much trouble. They're, like, losing their financial advisors. It's just, like, a whole thing, which is sad, and that, like, just affects me personally, so I'll just move on from that. But Netflix... is billions of dollars in debt. So, like, what they've been doing is they've been doing this very Silicon Valley strategy of, like, let's invest instead of, like, taking profits, because we can so reliably get angel investors in Netflix, then they can put all of their profits towards expanding. And so they're dumping tons and tons of money into their original programming and trying to aggressively expand their user base. And so Netflix has been going more and more into debt. This is actually what Amazon's doing too. So a lot of tech companies are very, very fragile because this is their business model. It makes so much sense, doesn't it? Anyways, so Netflix is billions of dollars in debt. And that works when you're the only game in town. But when a company that is already financially secure, like, say, Disney, for example, decides to make a streaming service, and then also, since Disney's one of, like, the 5 media companies that are left on Earth, they take all of their IPs with them. So they take Marvel, they take Disney movies, they take Pixar, they take they're gonna own, like, Fox, so they get The Simpsons and King of the Hill and Futurama. I think they gave Futurama still. They take all of that stuff and they say, haha, Disney's gonna have its own streaming service with, like, The Simpsons and Pixar and Marvel movies. And Netflix, and they're gonna do that. And then also another one of, like, the 5 media companies, Warner Brothers, is also pulling all of their stuff. Like, Warner Brothers is all the Harry Potter movies and all of the DC movies, which, you know, might actually help Netflix. But like they have like Warner Brothers owns a crap ton of stuff, and they're going to take all of that, and so they're going to have, and they're both planning on starting a service, and that means that like in 2019 you're going to have 3 streaming services, 2 of which are owned by giant media conglomerates that own like to combine 40% of all the media on Earth, or at least in America, which is like, you know, the cultural hegemon of the Earth. And then you have Netflix, which has no media empire underneath it, is billions of dollars in debt, and their strategy seems to be to raise their subscription prices and double down on original content. And I don't know if you've been watching the Netflix original series lately, but what started off as like, you know, kind of great golden age of television stuff has stagnated quite badly and is producing some terrible schlocky crap. For example, the last like 3 seasons of Orange is the New Black, House of Card, and then all of the other shows that no one was paying attention to. They've got like Black Mirror and Big Mouth and Kimmy Schmidt, which is actually going off the air soon. And they're taking all of their, like, they have they have no successes to double down on. Their hope is that they're going to like, the Dragon show. So they're going to like, and Marie Kondo, which by the way is an amazing show. You should watch it. And so like they're doubling down on this thing. And I think that like, it's just not going to last. They just don't have, without like the other properties, they just don't have enough staying power on their own thing in order to stay solvent. And so Lost in Space was just garbage. So like, yeah, just, I don't see Netflix making it to 2020. If they do, it'll be struggled, which sucks because like they invested a whole lot in making a live action remake of Avatar: The Last Airbender that I wanted to see, but I don't know if it's gonna happen because I guess they like bought the 2 creators of that show. Like Netflix, and also this is not like Netflix's fault. Like they are literally getting muscled out of the industry, and with Disney and Warner Brothers on board, like other people will join in later, and eventually you're gonna have like 4 streaming services, and just like with cable, they're all going to be like, they're going to be like $50 a month, and then you're going to have to choose one, or you're going to have to pirate stuff, and it's just going to suck. Canada did allow a giant tax break to Netflix to let them stay, to skirt around some like regulations or something. So yeah, streaming TV is going to suck in 2019, and it's going to get worse. So that's why, and Netflix doesn't have Disney movies. Like, without Disney movies, like, what does Netflix have? Oh, and Disney has Star Wars. All right. What do you think of people who will admit communism is probably the better system, but are unwilling to really do anything about it? I mean, I think they're like most people. They're lazy, or they are afraid of dying in the glorious revolution because they won't join the party, the Revolutionary Party. Revolutions are scary and violent, and lots of people die needlessly, and horrible atrocities get committed. There's a lot of good reasons why people are not going to get on board for that unless they are extraordinarily desperate for nothing else. And I think that that's pretty, I think that's where we're at with that. They are making the very rational choice of not wanting to die or commit murder. And at the moment they can still do that because they can still, partially afford their rent and eat food. But, when things get really nasty, that's when that stuff's going to happen, and it's not going to be good, and I'm not going to be happy. But, you know, those are the laws of economics or whatever. give me good Canadian recipes. I actually struggle to think of what like Canadian food is, except for like really bad, like there's poutine, which is like, you know, garbage food you eat when you're drunk. It's good garbage food, but it is garbage food. There's like tourtière, which is like spiced meat pie. That's pretty good, but I have no idea how to make it. Sucre de neige, which is like where you pour maple sugar on snow. Sugar pie is pretty good. Nanaimo bars are pretty good. What else is Canadian? I don't know. Like, those are the Canadian foods that come to mind. Pea meal bacon. Just, yeah, having beans with breakfast. You know, things like that. All right. As a left person yourself, what are your thoughts on the pink tide of Latin America's response to neoliberalism? I have not heard of that. I feel bad that I probably should know. That sounds like a thing I probably should know. Oh yeah, de Chris. I can't tell if that's a food or if you're swearing. All right. Next up. What do you think about the impeach Trump campaign and the GoFundMe wall? The GoFundMe, I mean, like, the GoFundMe wall is another example of a lot of, like, conservative outrage things, which is that it's a grift. It's a scam. A lot of, more than you would actually think, of, like, right-wing, like, movements are scams. Because, I don't know why, but, Sacre Bleu, Ija is like more of like a France thing. If you want to swear like a Canadian or like a Quebecois, you have to go like, oh, Tosti de tabernacle de Colis, tabernacle de Chris, like that's more the Quebec way. Sacre Bleu is like so fancy. Zut alors. Or what's another thing that the French people say from France? Like merde. No, like very like no. Quebecois people are like not that fancy. Impeach Trump campaign. I mean, there's enough impeachable offenses that Trump has committed many times over by now, but with a Republican Senate, you're just not going to get it. It's just not going to happen. Like, the only thing I could think to see Trump getting impeached is if there is a Democratic Senate in the 2020 election, but somehow Trump gets reelected. That's the only time I could see an actual impeachment happening, because the Republicans have basically all but said that they are flat out okay with like their president being a blatant criminal, and they don't particularly care. Because Quebec, like my brain is looking at the chat, because the Republican Party is very much dedicated to like power for power's sake. Yeah, so that's where that is. And the GoFundMe wall is just like, you know, like Sargon of Akkad's whole career. It's fleecing reactionaries out of their money. That's what it all is. That's the right wing like outrage machine. That's what Paul Joseph Watson is. He's making people mad so that they buy his dumb like soy powder, or like what's his name? Milo Snuffleupagus. I don't know what the hell he did. He write a book or something? I don't know. He's selling something. They're all selling something. And some are and raising money for the wall that's never going to get to the wall, is like, yeah, it's all a grift of very impressionable people, because the way the right thinks, it's about following orders. It's not about thinking for yourself. It's not about independent thought. It's about following orders and retaining the hierarchy. And when someone higher in the hierarchy says buy the thing, they do. It's sad. Yeah, Brain Force Plus. Go buy Brain Force Plus. Keeps the aliens from getting into your brain. I'm very puffy. I'm sure that like destroyed your ears. I don't even know what the hell is in my. I don't know what demon I've been possessed by, but this is apparently what I'm like tonight.
You sound like a crazy person.
You know what? People like it. I'm sure. What's it called? I'm sure people are having a good time. Kelly said I sound like a crazy person, which is not inaccurate, but you know, I'll take this unique confluence of tired and just all fuck giving is very low. All right. Since the average American is only concerned with putting food on the table and are not critical of capitalism at all, how can the left teach them class consciousness? Well, it's because that concern with putting food on the table seems to be getting harder and harder every single day, doesn't it? Maybe helping them connect left-wing ideas with the things that are actually affecting them. Because the right, they are doing that really effectively. They've been telling them that the reason their lives are getting shittier and shittier over the years is because either they're not trying hard enough or because of them, whatever them happens to be at that point in history. But like, if you'd say, hey, it's the fact that like, you know, there's like a guy who owns a company called Amazon who is getting divorced and going to lose half his money, and it's not going to affect him at all because he makes more than you make in a year in like 15 minutes. And he has so much money, he's going to self-fund his way to space. Like something out of the freaking Fountainhead or something. Like, I feel like if you just frame the narrative like that, like, it's like, we try so many different ways to split ourselves up in all these different groups so that we can, you know, create interests and like push for things. But like, honestly, for like 99% of us, we're all getting fleeced by one thing, and it's capitalism. And if we got rid of that, our lives would be so much goddamn better. So much goddamn better. And we're just not doing that right now. We're kind of like, hey, I'm going to say these 5-syllable words from a book that I read when I was doing my master's degree. And if you don't get them, you're bad. But like, that's like our strategy, I guess. When like, you know, go like 100 years ago and you were like, hey man, doesn't it really suck how much your boss is like an evil dipshit who keeps like treating you like a dictator and like won't like let you go to the bathroom? Like, you know, screw that guy. I feel like, hey, doesn't it suck to pay to go to the doctor? Doesn't it suck that like its rent keeps going up but your paycheck doesn't? Like, I feel like these are very tangible, real things that we could sell to the average person who worries just about making sure that they're all right. Pee on your boss. Oh, God. I think I said once to my boss that I was a Marxist. I think it was at my job interview. Which, you know, real smart of me. But I said something around that, and every once in a while he's like, well, I'm getting this Marxism thing more and more, and like, once we've solved all of these social ills, it's the Marxism we're going to do next. It's like, all right, it's all right. It's all fun. Didn't Marx say kill all the white people and bully gamers? Of course. Of course. All right. What do you think about the... Oh, we already did that one. Dating Belana Torres? Belana Torres. No, Cory Booker is rumored to be dating Rosario Dawson. As in, like, the night nurse in the Marvel shows and, like, the stripper / prostitute from the Rent movie that I can't remember the name of right now. And what else she was in? She's in Clerks 2. What else has Rosario Dawson been in? I'm like remembering her for like all the movies she doesn't. Oh, freaking Sin City. And Her. You know her. Who played... I think that the person who played B'Elanna Torres was also named Rosario, but I think it's a different person. If I find out that Rosario Dawson played B'Elanna Torres, I'm gonna like lose my mind. But I don't think so. B'Elanna Torres is played by Roxann Dawson. All right, so it's Roxann Dawson, not Rosario Dawson. This is like, trying to think who else was, not Donald Trump is the best thing that could happen. What happens if Pence runs? Oh God, that'd be the worst. That'd be almost as that'd be probably even. Have you seen any anime on Netflix? No, I have not. I do not partake in the Japanimation. I'm sorry. All right. Warren keeps having to mention it because right-wingers keep using it to attack her. Yeah, that's true. All right. The thing is, it's still not great, and trust me, indigenous groups are more mad at her than I am. I feel like they might feel like that's more their call over whether that's a bad thing to do than, like, you know, her or me for that matter. Why are Americans so placid? All the inequality and corruption. Where's the American Yellow Jacket movement? Where's the civil unrest and anger over the lack of economic justice? I mean, I would say that if you follow, like, the thing is that corporate news doesn't cover these usually unless they're really big, but, like, for real, like, there's a lot of very good activism going on in America. The DSA is really doing amazing things lately. But on top of that, it's violence. Like, America's labor movement is so much more violent than any other countries. They have brutally repressed any and all dissent. And, like, you could ask the same question about North Koreans. Like, why aren't the North Koreans just overthrowing Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un? Like, it's, I don't know. Like, there's, like, the thing about the Yellow Jacket movement, at least in France, is because France has a strong tradition of civil unrest. Their leaders are very well aware of what the French people do when the French leaders don't listen to them. America doesn't have that. America's never, like, you know, beheaded their own president before. And so, heated gamer moment. Oh no, there will be no gamer moments on this channel. So, yeah, just, like, Americans, and also, like, there is a strong conservatism in American culture. There is a fear of change, a fear of difference, and a, you know, they are still one of the most well-off countries on earth, and they worry about a lot of things. Not unreasonably, but they have the country has had a pretty brutal history of putting down dissent. Is Christy Winters too centrist? I don't want to, like, talk shit about other YouTubers. I disagree with Christy Winters on many things, especially her politics. I think that she's a little hypocritical because she gets to live with all of the wonderful modern advancements that the Germans get to enjoy, like free healthcare and all those things, but doesn't seem to want to advocate too hard for it for her American compatriots, which I think is a little unfair. I'm stuttering. Heep, deep, 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 beep, beep. That's all, folks. So, like, that's the thing that I would want to bring up with her. But honestly, she's like whip smart and she's really nice. Just really wish that she's just very locked into the party as like her identity, and like challenges from outside that are just I don't know. Long ago, the four nations lived in harmony, but everything changed when the cat showed up. All right. 2 weeks ago, you gave me the impression that being late room and tenant farmer wouldn't be that bad. Were landlords less evil back then? It's not that they were less evil. It's just that they were less present. And yes, and actually in many ways less evil. Tenant farmers had, you know, a ratio of their goods that they had to give to... I don't have Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi. I am jacked in directly. Yeah, so let's take a look at OBS. Let's see if OBS is... OBS. To what do you say? Everything from like the stream health on my end is good, so it has to be YouTube because everything's coming out of my computer fine. And on the dashboard, it says that the stream status, like the variable resolution stream, is good. I've had no dips in quality or anything like that, so it has something funky going on YouTube. Hopefully it'll get better. I hope. I wouldn't want to... Here, let me just restart the stream, and let's see if that fixes it. Alrighty. Alright, let's go. Alright, I just rebooted real fast. I don't know if you guys can see me. Alright, if you guys can see me. Alright, well, let's hope that everything works. So, yeah, the thing about, like, being a tenant farmer in, like, the late Rome or, like in a rural situation like that is that you maybe saw your landlord a couple times a year, and usually the amount that they demanded from you was way less than now. If you were, like, percentage of your income wise, if you were a tenant farmer in late Rome or in the Middle Ages, the amount that you gave to your lord was much lower than, say, now that you are paying in taxes and rent. Okay. So that's why. Okay. Obama clone, you mean Beto. I don't know. Beto's a little... I think Beto's a little to the right of Obama. Obama would probably call himself a progressive in name, when Beto can't even do that. All right. Ralph Nader 2020. Oh man, I think his... I mean, that'd be fun, but I feel like he got that 2000 stank on him. That ain't gonna come off. What on earth are you talking about? That's a good question, David. I do not have an answer for you. 1.5 Johns worked for Obama. I think that this is stolen from Chapo, but I think that Obama just he was too busy to learn people's names in the White House. And so he just called all of his aides John. And so if they came in like, hey, what's your name? Ah, my name's Joshua. No, you're John now. They're all John. So Adam is John. Jeff is John. Gregory is John. But the thing is that they're all such, like, you know, true believers, true Obama believers, that they're just like, yes, I am John now. And so, like, I think that, like, Jon Favreau was originally, like, you know, Abram. But now he just goes by John. He has been blessed. He's been blessed. And that's why everybody who worked for Obama is named John. True fact. And that also, that when Obama didn't like his staffers, he made a cloning pod and just started remaking Johns. And now he just has an army of Johns. I mean, you haven't seen him. He hasn't done much in the last 3 years. What do you think he's working on? He's ready for the John revolution. He's been making Johns in his basement. Just making so many Johns. There's going to be like, what's it called? There's just going to be like a John overthrow where just millions of soldiers, all named John, will come out of Obama's house, his subterranean lair. And they will take over America. And they will start a podcasting empire like the world has never seen. Michael Collins, did you like The Last Jedi? I only saw it one time, and I thought it was okay. It was a good Star Wars movie. Star Wars movies are, they're all right. I watch them. I'll enjoy them. And then when they're over, I'm like, that was a good movie. And then it all ended. Then the movie was over. And then I went home and I was like, hey, that's a good movie. But then like the internet got mad about it because their Laser Sword movie had women's in it that told men's what to do. And that made them mad. Which, I could think of better reasons to get mad. But like, I don't know, The Last Jedi, I saw it. It happened to me. The movie happened to me. And I remember enjoying it. And then it was over. And I kind of forgot about it. And now I'll probably remember it again because there's another one coming out this year, right? And I'll probably see that one too. And then when that comes out, I'll watch it and I'll probably enjoy it. And then it will be over. And then I will move on to another thing. It's not like Star Trek. I could talk about Star Trek all day. I am very much in the Star Trek camp. Stop lagging. If aliens came and all looked like Obama, what would happen? Oh my. Does stutters though? Oh man, I don't want YouTube. YouTube, get better. Tristan, are you high? No, but I certainly feel like it. I don't know. I don't know why this lagging is happening. It's got to be on YouTube's end. It's nothing I'm doing. Like I'm getting clean stream, all green lights over here, so you can blame Google, or what do they call Google now? Alphabet. You can blame Alphabet. All right. Loyal Order are these chalk Eskimos? I don't even know what a chalk Eskimo is. Kelly, is there honestly a food in America called chocolate Eskimos? Just so you know, like, that word is an extremely racist word in Canada.
I don't know if that exists. It seems like it could be some kind of ice cream treat.
Oh, that's even better.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know.
Why are there no
Eskimo pie was a thing.
Eskimo pie?
That was a thing.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, you don't say those things. Smoke weed on stream. I mean, I could do it. It's not a crime. I talked to YouTube about it because YouTube demonetized my videos. Demonetized my videos that talked about cannabis, and I said, why is this demonetized? This is a completely legal substance in the country that I'm making the video from. And I didn't even show any cannabis in it. And the guy was like, you got a good point there, bud. But yeah. I don't know. Either way, that is not a nice word to say in Canada. You call them the Inuit people. Just like we do not use the word Indian to refer to an indigenous person in Canada anymore either. That is considered very impolite, colonialist, and fairly racist. And also on top of that, fairly confusing because Canada has a fairly large population of people who have moved here from India, which makes everything a lot more, which would make things a lot more complicated. basically oats, chocolate, coconut, and chocolate. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the Arctic does not have much of any of those things. There's a lot of seal. If it was like a meal made out of like raw seal blubber, that would be more like an authentic food of the region. Because vegetables be expensive, and I can only imagine how expensive chocolate is in like Nunavut. I imagine it's a lot. Do you think the recession will happen in 2019 or 2020 or another year? Honestly, with these things, there's been like a recession going on. If there is a recession is supposed to be like 2 quarters in a row of negative economic growth. And America reported negative economic growth in Q4 of 2019. And things aren't looking all that much better. So I think 2018 was like considered the worst year for the economy since 2008, which, you know, is a sign that there'll probably be some things that are much worse, or they'll be much less good later. So expect that economic downturn any minute now. And you'll just wake up and be like, oh, the Dow dropped like 8,000 points. Which, you know, I don't even know what a point is in reference to the stock market. Is it a percent? Is it like dollars? Is it $1,000? Is it $1 million? I don't know. If anyone knows what a stock market point is, please say it to me. Just like when I didn't know why both coffee and tea made caffeine on Twitter yesterday, and I just asked it, and some scientist actually answered, and I was like, oh, here we go. I can just find things now. Because I'm a dummy. Alright. Is religion for breakfast religious himself? I don't think so. As far as not as in any of the conversations I've had with him, he seems to be fairly, you know, non-religious. He makes a special emphasis that he does the, like, you know, the secular study of religion. So he's going to be on the stream this weekend. I just remembered that. That's going to be fun. You guys should come out to that. Also, by the way, I should mention, there's not going to be a Step Back Tonight next week. I have a AGM for politics to go to. We live in a society. All right, for someone like myself, the choice between The Burn and Warren is still a choice between the best of 2 evils. I do like The Burn much more than Warren, but still not left enough. Well, that's true. I mean, at the best, Sanders is like he's a, you know, social democrat. Everyone says that, you know, he's just a social democrat, which is true. And even amongst like social democrats, he would be considered probably on the rightish side of that. But on the American scale, that is way better. And I, for one, look forward to the day that I am the left-wing opposition to a Sanders government. I think that that would be a very ideal set of circumstances to be in. Just like somebody asked me on Curious Cat yesterday, I want to say. I think it was Boxy Lemon. Why am I like some person? It was, you know, Boxy Lemon, and friend of the channel, asked what I thought about social democrats. And I said, I would love for them to be the new center so that I can be the left-wing opposition to them. Because things would be a lot better if that happened. 1 point equals $1. Okay. Bernie Sanders killed Rosa Luxemburg. All right. You guys, you're going to have to get over Rosa Luxemburg. She was great. It was different times. Bernie Sanders was a different person back when he murdered Rosa Luxemburg. What What a meme. Okay. Tristan, can I ask you about what sources you're planning on using for your Ancient Astronauts video? I don't know, Luke. I have only just put it on my radar. I'm probably not going to get to it until, like, March at the earliest. So I got a while to think about it, but I really don't know what's going to look like. I'm probably going to end up having to watch a lot of Ancient Aliens. I bet Kelly will watch it with me too. And just like tearing it apart. But I think that overall the thesis is going to be just because white people couldn't do it doesn't mean it was aliens. But I'm sure there'll be more fun. I feel like that's a video I will make sure to just have fun with. Thoughts on Rand Paul visiting Canada for healthcare? I think that it's super ironic for the like right-wing libertarian conservative to go to evil Canada with its socialized healthcare that apparently is just so bad in order to get healthcare. I'm just surprised that it happened. Like, is that really like he's going to like fix a hernia, and like, is there really no doctor in America that could do a hernia? Especially because he's like he's a senator, right? Like, don't senators get like decent healthcare already, like insurance through work? I don't know. I feel like there's a part of that story that's not it's not there, you know, that we're not getting. Like, all right, unless he's doing it to save money, in which case, yeah, the irony is quite not lost on me. Should I not mention I am an anarchist at a future job interview? I'm kind of already out myself as a socialist and anarchist. I mean, the job interview is a little early, I would say, but you have to really scout your workforce on that. I did it because I am a very public. I asked the question because I am a public figure who has a very public internet presence as somebody on the radical left. And any basic job interview, they will do that kind of research, and it would stick out like a sore thumb. And so I knew that it was a thing I would have to cover, and so I just asked, just in case it was going to be a problem. I didn't anticipate it was going to be a problem, but I wanted to make sure. Have you ever been part of the Communist Party? Just sitting down at like the thing, like just like turns into like one of the McCarthy hearings. You're like, it really depends. Like, if you're applying for a job at a bank, saying that you're like a radical leftist might be less popular than, say, like, you know, like working for, like, I don't know, the Wobblies or something. Could you please lick your microphone? That's a new request. No thanks. I appreciate that you asked, but I do not want to lick my microphone. Thank you. All right. Also, I love how, like, Rand Paul... All right, does anyone... Okay, Rand Paul has a hernia because he got the shit kicked out of him by his neighbor, who they were apparently fighting over, like, Rand leaving his, like, raked leaves on his neighbor's lawn. Like, one of the most, like, dumb neighborhood association suburban thing ever. And yet they got in, like, a fist fight to the point where, like, Rand Paul has like a hernia, and then it's just like, what is this? What is this weird thing that happened? Why is there no like cell phone footage of this fight? Oh, the drama, the suburban drama. How do you feel about YouTube restricting edgy humor? That depends upon your definition of edgy. If by edgy humor you mean Nazis, then I'm for it. In fact, I encourage it, and I wish that YouTube would do more. Because just flat out racism isn't humor. It's racism. It's hate speech, which is bad. But you know, but like edgy humor, like stuff that like rides the line of like, you know, pushing boundaries and stuff like that, like that's the point of comedy. But as far as I know, YouTube's not doing that. They're sometimes making it so that Nazis like Sargon of Akkad can't make money, and like the argument that Sargon of Akkad is somehow a like comedian is a joke in and of itself, because a lot of Nazis like default to I'm just joking, or it's just memes, when they're basically just saying racist shit. Yeah. Why are there no communists in Star Wars? This is a good question. Even Warhammer 40K, the most Naziest of science fiction franchises, has communists. They're like blue people. I can't remember what their name is right now, but yeah, we need some space commies in Star Wars. All right. Thoughts on the World Health Organization classifying gaming disorder as a legitimate disorder soon? You probably have gaming disorder. I mean, maybe I did. Sometimes I have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which which I imagine can be very comorbid with that, because sometimes ADHD people get what's called hyperfocus, which is where you get stuck on something that like engrosses your attention and you can't be pried away from it, and when you're not doing it, you're constantly thinking about it. And so that is a very I can imagine that turning into a gaming disorder very easily. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like gaming disorder, like is there, I would retort by saying, is there like a television disorder, or is there like a, like, I could see a gaming disorder like in the terms of like gambling and like getting stuck in that loop. Honestly, I would think that like excessive gaming is a symptom of other disorders like depression and or excessive capitalist alienation, you know, like all of those things that are like, this is like, I feel like video games are like the most like the perfect like late capitalism entertainment medium, because in a way that doesn't hurt anybody powerful, you can exercise autonomy over one small corner of the world. And people are so desperate to just feel like they have control over one aspect of their lives that that like it's very, very fun and very rewarding in our brains, because we have no control over so much of our life. And I imagine that that's the reason why a lot of people fall into it. It's depression. It's but like to say that like there's something like inherently like about games, I think there's something to be said about that too. Video games do, especially more and more recently, have been designed to abuse the dopamine response in people's brains. The whole Skinner box thing is a thing. I actually once said that I want to make a sort of, I guess, like an art piece, which would be the Skinner box, and it would be a fairly modern designed slot machine, but like everything is themed around the Skinner box. And if you get if you get through the whole thing, you can actually like, they'll give you like pellets of food and stuff like that, just to like show how those machines are just like absolutely abusing your brain. And I do think that that aspect, that sort of slot machine aspect, because I don't even think that slot machines fit under gambling addiction. It is flat out theft. They are just taking your money. There is no way to win. But like, yeah, video games abuse that sort of intermittent reward system that I think could definitely turn into obsessive behavior. And if you have a brain that has trouble feeling anything with a dopamine response, video games could be very could be very addictive. Like if, say, you have depression, where, you know, if you have depression, dopamine doesn't really do it for you all that much. And so if you can get something that gives you that, like, you know, reward feeling, then yeah, the potential to get addicted is very high. There's like, I'm sure if the World Health Organization is putting it on the list, that that there's probably a growing body of science about it that makes sense. But like, you know, I am not a psychologist. I'm just, you know, talking about my own experiences. And yeah, sometimes I play a lot of video games. Sometimes I lose a weekend to a game, mostly due to my hyperfocus issues. But those are few and far between. I don't really play as much video games as I think most guys my age do anymore. Or I'm just bad at them. Anyways. Suppose a super advanced alien race invaded the Earth and tried to force us to do socialism. Would you take their side? Depends upon how they are trying to force us to do it. Sure. I mean, I don't know. It would be very... If it's going to be like the Talons or whatever in Earth Final Conflict, where they're like, we bring you love, but we're secretly trying to take over the world. That could be problematic, but if they're like, hey, you want some like post-scarcity, like luxury gay space communism, and then there was like a reactionary backlash against that, yeah, I would probably take the alien side. By the way, you get 5 points if you can remember Earth Final Conflict and the Talons. That is what's called a science fiction deep cut, because that show did not get a lot of watchers and it was not very good. But that didn't stop me from watching all 5 seasons of it. Anyways, opinion on Pope Francis. He seems aight. As far as like popes go, I think he's doing pretty good. You could definitely do much worse, like the Pope before him. It'd be great if, like, you know, the Pope was, you know, some sort of like turbo woke uber Marxist, but we got what we got, and I don't know. I'm good. I'm good with Francis. I'm not a Catholic though, so I can't really talk to it, but you know, seems like he's good. I like the fact that he's taking sort of a more political, more left-leaning sort of Latin American form of Catholicism and bringing it to Rome. I think that's kind of cool. And unlike his predecessor, he seems to be taking all of the, you know, abusing of children pretty seriously, which is nice. All right. Do you think anarcho-communism can be scaled into space-age unions, a unity across a galaxy or bigger? Yeah. Like, I am fully under the impression that like everybody gets really hung up on like the how small the commune is, but honestly, like, it's just like one piece of the puzzle. Like, communes are just like the smallest unit of organization. It's like neighborhood associations, that kind of stuff. But like, I think that an anarchist society that had a very like networked and very like, you know, distributed collaboration structure could totally accomplish amazing things, especially because like the Soviet Union showed that like if you decouple market forces from things, you can convert your entire economy to make all sorts of cool space stuff if you really want to. Maybe I'm gonna, all right, the 5 points thing. I'm going to make a game where you mark down how many points you have. Now you have 5 points for remembering Earth Final Conflict. And anytime that I'm digging up like a pop culture reference that shows either how old or weird I am, I will give people points for it. More or less depending upon how weird I think the thing is. I'll give another point. If you can get one more point, although I feel like these two are comorbid with each other. If you can remember the other really bad Kevin Sorbo TV show that happened around the same time called Andromeda, and that's another point if you get that one. It was a show that takes place like thousands of years in the future where Captain Kevin Sorbo is like in a spaceship that gets caught in like a black hole and frozen in time for like a bajillion years. So it's like Star Trek. It's like Turbo Star Trek. It's like, because there's like 3 galaxies, like the whole local group is united in peace or something. And then there's a battle or something. And then Kevin Sorbo's spaceship gets caught in a black hole for like 300 or 400 years. And then he comes out and some like junkers pull him out. And it turns out that he's like just been like frozen in time. And he's become like this legend, and he has to like completely like rebuild society with like his spaceship. And it is just awful. I think it was Kevin Sorbo's like first post Hercules thing, and Kevin Sorbo is a very, very weird dude. Sequest. Oh my God. We're just gonna like talk about all the trashiest 90s science fiction now, I guess. You can definitely get the point for knowing that Andromeda was a thing that exists. All right. What is the religion for breakfast? What is religion for breakfast's political opinions? I actually don't know that much. I haven't talked to him too much about politics. He seems, I imagine I don't know. I imagine he's pretty woke. He's pretty well educated. He doesn't seem to be a religious supremacist, which makes me think that he's left of center, at least of some kind. Aeon Flux. Was Aeon Flux the like anime where one of the characters had hands for feet? Like, instead of having feet, she just had 2 more hands? I think that was Aeon Flux. I'm a bit young for Aeon Flux. I think that show, the only reason I know about it is because I grew up with, when I was a kid, I grew up with my cousin for about 10 years. And he lived in my home. And he was like a lot older than me, like about 15 years older than me. And so he was like a Gen Xer. And I got a little bit of taste of like Gen X media through him. And so I think that he had like Aeon Flux on VHS. And I think I remember him watching it. I remember that. And I also remember there was a scene where like 2 spies were passing notes to each other by like making out, and then they had like they had a tooth, like a false tooth that was like a capsule, like a container, and they would use their tongue to like take a note out of their tooth pocket, and then they would use their tongue and put it in the other person's tooth pocket, and that's how they would like clandestinely spread notes to each other. I remember that, and I remember the lady who had hands for feet. That's about it. That was a weird show. All right. For Warren to have a chance, she would need to apologize for wrongly self-identifying as a Native American in the United States. Honestly, I'm not sure how she should approach that. I'm sure it's a long process. But also it's a thing that, I'm I imagine the Democrats, like the party bosses, are probably not super keen on Elizabeth Warren running for president. So I also imagine that even if she like fully came out and apologized and like made like a thing, I last I heard she's done the opposite. She's like doubled down, but I could be wrong. But I imagine that the Democratic Party is probably going to try and intimidate her out of running because they make a lot of money from Wall Street, and that would having her like talking shit about Wall Street on the campaign trail, I imagine would make her not popular. I'm glad there are a few people in the chat who were also born in the 1980s like me and remember all of this weird shit from the 90s. Who here hasn't murdered Rosa Luxemburg? That is a very good question. You just raise your hand if you did not murder Rosa Luxemburg. You see? I don't see any hands. Aeon Flux was also like that old anime, like before they got obsessed with like weird cutesy shit. And so when they were focused on just being conceptual and weird, which is like the anime that I was into, like Akira or like Ghost in the Shell, like Aeon Flux was kind of like in that time, or like Pat Labor. I guess like that's, somebody asked once about animes, and I was like, that's the animes that I remember liking. Which I imagine is like turbo old now. Okay. Suppose a super advanced alien race invaded the Earth. Oh, he asked that question twice. Are Cumtown clips about to be banned? I don't. Oh, this is about the edgy comedy. I am not a fan of Cumtown. It is the humor they use is too crass for even me. And they're kind of they're just like, yeah, they use like language I'm not really a fan of. I don't know why. I know that like it's like the sister podcast of Chapo Trap House, but I don't understand why. I don't understand why people think it has a similar sense of humor, or that it's like funny or anything like that. I don't know. I don't get it. Aeon Flux is Aeon Flux like Cyber 6? Like it's like an anime made by Americans? If that's the case, then like, oh, and then there was Cyber 6, which was another like balls to the wall weird show, which was a show about a spy woman who dresses in leather and goes out at night and fights a like child who's trying to do bad things. I don't remember exactly the plot, but one of the things about her, the big like the dramatic center of the show, was that she was like kind of in love with this guy who like they liked each other, but then like during the day she her like disguise was that she dressed as a man and was like a professor at the same school as the guy. And so like the guy, like they were just like kind of like chummy like colleagues at like university or at the school. And then at night they had this like, you know, will they won't they romance between her going out in like killing things in like heels and leather and, you know, all those very logical anime type of dress. Okay. What do you think of H-Bomb's Donkey Kong 64 stream? It was beautiful. It was amazing. I'm going to talk a bit about it on my video for Thursday. But man, I needed a pick-me-up like that. I watched so much of the stream. I got to miss. I just was someone who knows Harris a little bit. It was so great to see this like little thing that he planned on doing exploding out of control and doing so great. And I loved how many people came out to watch and how many great guests they had and how many amazing stories they brought out. I learned so much and I just had such a good time watching. Found out about all sorts of new creators that I like never heard of before. It was a good time. And I think I was like, yeah, I think I was just like totally blown away. And then Monday, I think I just like completely emotionally tanked. I had a big calm down afterwards, and I was just like, it was just a mess on Monday. And it was just beautiful to see all the great stuff. It was great to see like a stream in which I saw the actor who played Matilda and like Chelsea Manning and Adam Conover and Virgil Texas and Matt Chrisman in like a span of 2 hours. Like, oh man. I really wish I could have been on the stream. I was in talks to be on the stream, but it didn't come through. They got too busy. I didn't get in touch early enough. It was too close to the end, basically. But yeah, it was really fun to watch, and I was really excited. There was an amazing historian who was on for a bit that made me really happy too. All right, what's the next question? Opinion on YouTube returning money from super chats to literal neo-Nazis after the kill stream was raising funds for St. Jude's cancer research. Oh man, that's the most like. Is Adam Conover actually leftist? I wouldn't say leftist. I don't think he's not like, you know, growing a beard and talking revolution anytime soon, but he is, I think he's staunchly a part of the Brotherhood of Bernard. Like he's definitely on the American left. He's pretty progressive. Judging how like if you like watch Adam Ruins Everything, like every single segment is about how capitalism is bad without saying it. Okay. Where are we at? There's 47 of you here? Jeez. I thought you guys would have found like a Twitch stream to watch or something. This is like my brain. You're just watching my brain like turn into cottage cheese in front of your eyes. But yeah, the H-Bomber Guy stream was beautiful, amazing. I think we witnessed history. My heart grew 3 sizes. I wanted to cry, but all my toxic masculinity is beating that out of my system. I was so happy. And it was so good to see, I wouldn't say like, you know, a good friend, but like to see somebody that I know and respect and have talked to have such a surprise, like serendipitous success. It makes me really happy to see that. Say trans rights. Oh, fuck yeah, trans rights. All the trans rights. Trans lefts, too. All right. Are you familiar with Malatesta? Also, do you think that there's hope for reactionaries to be re-educated? I am not familiar with Malatesta, but I do think that reactionaries are... There is hope for reactionaries to be re-educated. They are people who are angry about the state of the world. They have just been given a scapegoat that is incorrect. I think that they can be turned around. But I don't know too much. Did I miss a question about a kill stream? I don't know. Oh no. Am I bumping in on American Johnson? Oh, that makes me sad. I've never seen the Uncle Sam character on Adam Ruins Everything depicted as the good guy. Even when he does good things, it's not dwelled on for long. It's true. Adam Ruins Everything is woke as fuck, and I say that BreadTube people should watch, like people who are making videos in this corner of the internet should be watching Adam Ruins Everything, because he is exposing flat-out socialist ideas to the public in a way that they are digesting and enjoying. I mean, the show's on its 3rd season, so I mean, it's doing something right. So that is a good model to follow. I don't know what that model is. I study it quite a bit, but yeah. What are reactionaries? Reactionaries are people who are, instead of having a political set of principles, they're sort of just angry about the way things are and trying to change things. Usually a conservative backlash against a perceived threat to their existence. Sort of like a freak out. So like Trump's, like a lot of Trump's followers are reactionaries. A lot of neo-Nazis, but I repeat myself, are reactionaries. They are, yeah, that's like more the way I could say. They are against social change that is happening now. Are witches actually real? Yes, they are, and they have magic powers. No, I mean, it's a term that a lot of women who are involved with neo-paganism have adopted for themselves, and people associated with like Wicca and things like that. And it was a term used in the past to basically speak about women who were practicing any sort of medical stuff that sort of predated Christianity. I talk about a little bit this in a video that's going to be coming out in February, so hold on. All right. Last week you said conventional Soviet America wars would have destroyed the world economy. What did World War II have the opposite effect on the world economy? Mostly because, it didn't for a lot of people, but it's because the United States did not fight the war on its own soil, and the United States joined the war very, very late. You could tear apart why like economics went through, but basically the work orders from, basically it's Keynesianism on a big scale. The government invested shit tons of money into the economy in order to jumpstart the war effort, and that led to economic growth. That's it. YouTube returned money to actual neo-Nazis after the kill stream raised money for St. Jude's cancer research. Okay, so like a group of neo-Nazis did a stream to raise money for cancer. So like they did like, it was like a Nazi charity event, and YouTube took its money away because they don't like giving money to Nazis. But then when they said it was for charity, YouTube gave it back. Is that basically the story? Am I getting this correctly? If so, that's a turbo weird situation, but yeah, YouTube, what the hell? Don't give money to Nazis. That would be pretty good. Anyone here know a video that debunks welfare, makes people lazy? I need it for a friend, literally. I mean, go and talk to your average welfare recipient who is usually working 3 jobs and still can't pay the bills, and tell them about how their 80-hour work week is lazy. But, you know. As a leftist, who do you believe Skyrim belongs to? Oh, I should get Kelly in on this one. As a leftist, who do you feel Skyrim belongs to? Because it's certainly not the Empire, but it's also certainly not the Nords.
I don't know.
She's been playing a lot of Skyrim lately.
Ignoring that story.
Yeah, I think that is a question where it's like, man, I don't want to fight either side of that war. Skyrim. And so anytime I played Skyrim, I just didn't do the war.
I'm doing a lot of cooking and pillaging, so you know that's mostly.
Yeah. Skyrim belongs to the Khajiits. I think that's a good answer. Skyrim belongs to the skooma. Hey, look, it's Kings and Generals. Hello, friends. Hello, Mr. Kings and Generals. Skyrim belongs to the dragons. That's a pretty good answer, too. Or my secret answer, Skyrim belongs to the Dwemer, the dwarves, the robots that will take over the world, which are my favorite part of any Elder Scrolls game. And I really wish that there was an Elder Scrolls game that was just about the robots and the dwarf, the steam and everything like that. But we haven't gotten that yet. That'd be a game I'd like to play. I would also like to see a Elder Scrolls Blackmarsh, because I love Argonians. But, you know, we can't get what we want. All of my favorite parts of the Elder Scrolls series, nobody else seems to be interested in, which are like the dwarves and the Argonians. All right. That was the last question on the list. Does anyone have any more questions? There you go. Why won't more communists get on board with my plan to kill everyone who disagrees with us? Oh boy. There you go. I know you're joking. So it's like, is that a question? Redguard focus game. I love Hammerfall. Redguards are super OP. Yeah, see, nobody's like, I want to see the Argonian maid. She's got to be somewhere. And I want to do Argonians. I want Blackmarsh. I want my gross Blackmarsh all lizard people Elder Scrolls game. And I know it's never going to happen, but I really want it. Just like I want my like desert Khajiit game and my all dwarven robot game. Like I want all of those. But we're going to get more like, we're going to do like 6 more Elder Scrolls games where we go to places that are occupied by humans and elves, and we'll never see Blackmarsh, the true home of the Elder Scrolls. ESO. Oh, Elder Scrolls Online did Murkmire. I played Elder Scrolls Online very briefly. I got the game when it was in beta, and I played it for a little bit, and then I got to a point where I got to a quest that I couldn't handle, and then I quit, and I never played it again. I'm very good at video games, my friends. I think the quest was bugged, and so I didn't want to do it anymore. This is getting annoying. How did you and Cody make up? Oh, that's a good question. We just talked about it and kind of realized that we were going to be at an impasse, but that we respected each other enough to realize that we're better working together than fighting with each other. And so we were like, let's just try to make things work. Yeah, I don't more. I still think Elder Scrolls 6. I'll still hold out for Blackmarsh. I know that I'm like the one person who wants it, but I don't care. All right. I've talked a lot about Elder Scrolls games. Does anyone want me to talk about anything? Because if you don't, I have plenty of things that I can do with my evening. Complain about boomers. Oh, boomers. Man, I don't know. I feel like the rage part of my brain is dead right now. It doesn't want, I'm trying to go Super Saiyan to talk about this, like, generation that had so many things easy and then grew up to be the richest generation in human history and then complain about how their kids can't go up to it, even though they basically have been prying up the train track as they passed over it. But, you know, I just can't bring myself to it. I just can't enjoy hating right now. It's so, the dark side's not calling to me tonight. I don't know why. The teaser was a bit dry for a March. Yeah. Ooh, Elsewhere would be pretty cool. Isn't Elsewhere kind of like, it's like Tamriel's Egypt? Like, I think they make reference that there's like pyramids and like ancient temples, and then there's tons of Khajiits there, which means there's going to be like, it's going to be skooma crazy. I hope there's going to be like skooma plantations where you like can see them like making it, and you can do like a whole Breaking Bad story where you become like the skooma lord of Tamriel. That's it. That's the Elsewhere. That's the Elder Scrolls Elsewhere game that we need. The like Breaking Bad story about how you become the skooma lord of Tamriel. There you go. You make blue skooma, and everyone's like, "How'd you get the skooma so blue?" And it's just like this, like you have to like go and beat up other gangs and stuff like that. All right, got another couple questions. Why are you Betty working together? I thought you were making progress when you thought about giving up. When you thought about, I trump up a lot of our disagreements to him being of another culture and also being young and wealthy. But I cannot hold. But I do think that he's genuine-hearted individual, and I think that given time he'll come around and he'll be a different person. But we got in a fight because he was grossly misinformed about Sharia law very publicly on Twitter in a way that was sort of very insensitive to people of the Muslim faith, which, like, you know, very few people have literally produced an entire video about what Sharia law is for their YouTube channel, so I shouldn't really have blamed him for that, for buying into right-wing stereotypes and things like that. All right. What do you think about the reactions to the MAGA hat kid and the Native American dude? Oh, man, now that is a story. Yeah, okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, there was an event, several events that happened in Washington last weekend, and a bunch of Catholic kids went to the, like, you know, the pro-life rally where basically, yeah, women should all be like brood mares that are subservient to their husband and constantly pregnant until they die of childbirth or whatever. You know, the typical shit. And I guess a bunch of the boys, the teenage boys, got bored and started harassing. People are saying it was like Black Israelites or something, but anyways, the video that came out was like, you know, an indigenous guy who was like, you know, doing like a Native American drum thing while like a bunch of white teenage boys were basically like harassing him, and this kid was like getting in his face with this like complete like entitled shit-eating grin, and it's like the most like punchable face in human history. And in the last few days, it has like everyone's been like freaking out. Like they've been researching into the school and realized that it's like turbo racist. It's basically a school that has no black teachers, has like a single non-white student. Like it's like the example of like, hey man, why did all these kids start going to private school as soon as they started desegregating public schools? Oh yeah, this is why. And this kid just sounds like a complete shithead. But also, most boys are when they're 16, but that doesn't excuse his actions. He was pulling a very public, very bigoted, racist, like, harassment a guy in public. And then all of these news started coming out that, oh, he was trying to de-escalate the situation, and like the New York Times bought that shit, CNN bought that shit, and like some other like very, very, very like paid people of columns wrote stuff about this. But then like, and then also came out that kid's mom is like in charge of some bank, and like they hired a PR firm to like, they hired a PR firm to sort of rehabilitate his image on the internet so that screened and wore black. Oh, lovely. Yeah. So that turned out to be a PR firm that his family hired, his extremely wealthy family hired. And now we're just here. Do I advocate ruining the life of a 16-year-old kid? Kind of no, but also like I really don't want somebody like that having being able to like just like forget about all of this. I mean, he's a privileged white kid. He's gonna be fine. Let him get his 15 minutes of shame. But yeah, it's a whole thing. That's where we're at. What do you think about reactions? Yeah. So like that's my opinion. I didn't follow it super close because I don't think it was one of those like 48-hour Twitter stories, but yeah, it was very much like that kid who committed a rape and then got like 3 months of prison because they didn't want him to hurt his swim team future or something. Yeah, 15 minutes of shame. There's another line that I think makes sense, which is that Twitter, every day Twitter has a main character, and the goal of Twitter is to not be that person. And he was that person for one day. Unfortunately, he had to share the spotlight with Ben Shapiro saying that he wouldn't kill baby Hitler at like a pro-choice rally, and also doing like a Quip toothbrush ad during his speech. All sorts of weird stuff like that. This weekend was fucking wild, people. That's all I gotta say. How warm is it in your place? I'm freezing. It's actually pretty warm in here. Much love from DC. Recommend me a book. Well, Danya Bartel, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I really appreciate that. Recommend you a book. Ooh. I would say that my favorite book, that if you're looking to get into sort of activist history type stuff, is a book called Lies My History Teacher Told Me. I think you would really like a book that sort of that one would be really good. If you want something a little bit more advanced, there are two really great books about anti-black racism in America that I think are really good. One is called The New Jim Crow. It is really good. It's a go-to academic book. A lot of academics will swear by it. I read it for comps, and I'm doing a review of it with Radical Reviewer, hopefully in the near future. The next one I would recommend is The Warmth of Other Suns, which is a book that I think really did not get enough attention for how significant it was, and it is a story of what's called the Great Migration, which was this period in the late 19th and early 20th century where black people in America left the South, where they were basically kept as borderline prisoners on their land, basically not much different from their life in slavery, and escaped the South to go to some of the northern cities. And this is where a lot of the black communities in places like Detroit and Chicago and to some extent New York City, like where these communities got started, and the stories that people went through to get there is so crazy. And this story is never this like like The Warmth of Other Suns like blew this story wide open because not a lot of people had talked about it. So there you go. There's your book recommendations. You get 3. Whichever one of those sounds the most appealing to you, but those are all, I vouch for all 3 of them. They're all very good books. All right. How do I get involved in helping transgender people locally if no charities or organizations are not already in place? The best thing that you can do, unfortunately, if there's no like charity, like established organization in place, the best thing that you can do for trans people in your community, if you want to do something local, is just see if there are any trans activist groups and try to advocate with them on their behalf and try to help them out. And for trans people, healthcare is a huge concern and something very difficult to get your hands on, especially in the United States with for-profit healthcare. And so there are tons of GoFundMe campaigns for trans people to get the medical, either the medicine or the procedures that they need to save themselves. And I do think that they are that would be a great if you have some money to give to those causes. I definitely think you should. But if you don't, your time is still valuable. Just find a trans group that is working in your community and try to help out however you can. Just ring them up and just say, I want to help. I don't have money, but I want to help however I can. All right. Cody is rich. Richer than me, that's for sure. Since white people can't say the N-word, can SpongeBob say it? That's a weird question. I don't think I should answer that. The answer is no. No. What news network is the most trustworthy? Oh, Stealth Intel, thank you for answering my question. No problem. All right. What news network is the most trustworthy? Honestly, like, there's a couple ways that you can approach this. I look at the big 2 just to see, but not for, like, straight-up information. Like, CNN and MSNBC are good websites to check out just to get the idea of what the focus, what the laser is focused on right now. But it's not really a good thing to, like, to get like hard hitting journalism because they're both very dedicated to access, which means they don't really ask hard questions. My favorite is probably Democracy Now! I think Democracy Now! Is a pretty legit news source. They will never get a White House press room table, but that gives them the freedom to ask hard questions and really debate important things. And so I would say, but also they're not like explicitly taking money from Russia, which is like my issue with like Russia Today. So like, yeah, go with like, I would probably say go with Democracy Now! Amy Goodman is a national treasure. What if Shrek never happened? Oh boy. We've talked so much about Shrek in this series, Step Back Tonight. I'm very surprised. The Onion is also very trustworthy. I do like how they are fairly prescient several years in the future. Have a good night, Callie. Or Collie. Oh, what are you using for your ancient sources for your Ancient Aliens astronauts video? You were away, but my answer is that I'm probably going to watch a bunch of episodes of Ancient Aliens, and I'm probably going to read their book, and then I'm probably going to respond to it because no historian who is a grown-up has actually responded to them because they have self-respect, and they are above such silly things, but not me. So I'm probably going to look into it all myself. But definitely go into the thesis that, you know, just because white people couldn't figure it out doesn't mean it was aliens. All right. But yeah, let's see what we got. What makes Cody a nice person? The things he says and makes the world worse. Conservatives aren't nice just because they treat their friends well. Oh, keep stirring the pot there, huh? I think that I'm a sucker for a redemption story, and sometimes it gets me burned. Call me a bad person, whatever. What do you think will happen when Huawei CFO is extradited to the United States? Oh man. Canada's going to get in a lot of shit for that. China's going to be so mad at Canada if we actually go through with it. They're already like arresting and trying to execute our Canadian nationals living in China. That like if we actually did the extradition, I don't even know what's going to happen. All right. I haven't been super on top of the Huawei story, but yeah, definitely China's been taking the screws to us for this. Argos Panoptes, probably my favorite subscriber that judged by just sheer how much fun their name is to say. Thoughts on eugenics and anti-vaxxers? I don't like either of those. They're both bad. All right. I think I'm going to finish up these questions, and then I'm going to seed the stream so you guys can go watch Non-Compete. I don't want to take up his space. I mean, this is my show, but like, I think that Non-Compete could use some love. So I'm going to finish these questions, and I'll let you guys go watch them. Have you seen the YouTube channel's Do Not Eat City Skyline series? No, I have never played City Skylines. And it looks like it'd be fun, but I just never really got into it. I think I bought it at some point on like a Steam sale, but I haven't played it yet. Someday. Maybe we could do a stream with that. That'd be fun. Yeah, I'm going to non-compete with non-compete. All right. What do you think of the fact that the so-called history section of YouTube is filled with ancient/forbidden knowledge BS? It's depressing. It's very depressing about how bad historical literacy has gotten and pseudo-history, and that's why I'm very happy that I am doing this to hopefully be that light in the darkness against the forces of flat earthers and ancient aliens people. All hail Sobek. All right. May his holy semen fertilize the world. All right. All right, last question is from my wonderful moderator, Nightwatcher's Pet. I moved to a super rural white conservative place. How do I work for / advocate for leftist views without alienating everyone in a 20-mile radius? Oh boy, I am very sorry that is your situation. I'm sure that. I know knowing you a little bit, I know that this is not exactly super alien for you, but that's still like, I live in this privileged, educated white person city bubble. I guess you live in a white person bubble of a different sort, but I live in my privileged, most multicultural city on the planet. So I think that honestly, there are a lot of people who get very angry over very specific key phrases because it hits into American tribal nature. If you just don't say certain things in certain ways, it won't make them angry in the same way that, like, there are plenty of things that they are suffering through. I think that the main thing, and this is something that, like, I would say this is advice that I've taken from ContraPoints, which is that when you are with people who are, very different from you in their beliefs, even if they are racist and oppressive, like in his case, literally Nazis, it's a situation in which you need to try to meet them where they are in your rhetoric, which means that you have to figure out where you and them can see eye to eye and build from there. Because if you use certain phrases, they're just going to turn on you because they're just angered by certain words. And honestly, if you just talk about ideas and start small and use language that they're familiar with, you'll do a lot. You'll do pretty well. And it's going to be infuriating, and it's going to be demoralizing, and it's going to be crushing, and it's going to suck, but it is the best thing that you can do. Keep in mind that I think there was like some study that showed that it takes about 100 interactions to change someone's mind. And while it would be nice to be number 100, you're most likely going to end up being like number 36. So, 37. There you go. 2 points if you get the reference there. Anyways, if you can do the brave work of those things, then you're making the world a better place by really being in the trenches. All right. I think we are. I'm going to let you guys go. 37 in a row. Anyways, you guys have an amazing night. Go watch American Johnson. Go watch Non-Compete. And you guys, I'll talk to y'all. I guess the next Step Back Tonight is going to be in February. As I said, I'm not doing next week because I have a thing. So February 5th will be the next Step Back Tonight. I'll see y'all then.